The square of the shells rule on screen is the culmination of a 20-year study to try and discover if anything other than electromagnetic phenomena exists in this universe. The model considers the electron's mass and charge value as unity and calculates the mass and charge value of 4 electron-like shells, 3 of which make up a proton and 4 of which make up a neutron. Going from outside to in, the mass and charge value of each subsequent shell is the square of the mass and charge value of the next shell out. The sum of the masses of the 3 inside shells equals the mass of a proton. The sum of all 4 masses equals the mass of a neutron. The sum of 2 of shells 3 charge and 2 of shells 2 charge is equal to the strong nuclear interaction. The charges are greater than 1 electron charge, which is never observed. The reason it's not observed is that although the charges are greater, they emanate from a smaller radius. And since charge diminishes as the square of distance, the charge is exactly equal to 1 electron charge when observed at the radius of the larger electron. The square of the shells rule allows us to construct a neutron model on screen. The shells are shown to scale based upon the square of the shell calculations. Negative charge is depicted in blue, and the neutron's outer shell is negatively charged on its outer circumference and positively charged on the inner circumference of the shell. This inner positive charge of the neutron's outer shell faces off against the positive charge of the proton's outer shell. I say proton, the neutron is essentially a proton with 1 additional negative outer shell. Zooming in past the proton's outer shell, we come to the proton's middle shell, which is negatively charged. This middle shell and the outer shell contribute to the strong nuclear interaction as an electric force. This model explains the strange dynamic of the strong nuclear force, where force seems to increase with distance for a short distance, then disappear altogether. This dynamic comes about because the proton's middle and inner shell are trapped inside the proton's outer shells. So in order to separate, the inner shells must pass through like charges on the inside of the proton's outer shell. So instead of increasing with distance, they're actually increasing with diminished distance toward like charges on the outer shells. The massiveness of the shells comes from the rate of change of electromagnetic activity in the shells. The shells exist as 1 wavelength of electromagnetic activity. So the smaller the shell, the greater the electromagnetic activity and the greater the massiveness. So shell 4, the smallest, contains most of the mass. Shown at this scale, it occupies just 1 pixel on the screen. Although the 1 pixel shows up as a square on screen, it is actually a shell made exactly like the other shells, consisting of 1 photon trapped in a resonant loop that exists as a plane but spins flatwise to form a sphere. Dr. Robert Hofstadter of Stanford observed photon shells in nuclear particles, but was not able to publish that. Isaac Asimov included Dr. Hofstadter's findings in one of his publications. The shells may be observed by carefully controlling the probe energy. Too great a probe energy punches right through the outer shells and does not observe them. Energies under 200 MeV shows the shells. So after 20 years of study, we have not found any evidence that anything other than electric and magnetic phenomena is necessary to explain all of nature. We see that the Lorentz version of relativity was correct. Einstein's version was wrong. Space does not expand. The Big Bang could never have happened. Black holes cannot exist, and many other revelations about nature become clear with this construct.